So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to my Value Network chats. And good morning, Robert Niven, CEO from Carboncure. So, before I give the stage of Robert, I want to give a quick a reason why I do these chats. And uh, uh, so fundamentally, the reason for this is to find ways of collaborating with companies in a new, different kind of business model, which is a value network business model. And fundamentally, what it means is to finding ways of working together with companies in a very collaborative and collective manner instead of everybody working in their own silo and then try to compete with the neighbors. So that's the fundamental core why I'm doing these calls and interviewing, key people around different industries who can give us valuable insight on this topic. So again, this week I have this chat with Robert Niven, the CEO from Carboncure. And so here, drum roll, floor is yours. Give a little introduction of yourself. What do you guys do and why do you do what you do?
Sure. I'm Rob Niven, CEO and founder of Carboncure, like you said. I lead Carboncure, and Carboncure is a clean technology company that uses carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, to make concrete, the most abundant construction material on the planet. And using CO2, we actually make concrete that's stronger and with a lower carbon footprint that can be used and is being used today in construction at hundreds of different projects and being supplied at over 200 plants across the US, Canada, and also Southeast Asia. On the topic of value networks, with Carboncure, for us to be successful as a relatively small company, is we've had to be able to work across these different networks in different industries and pull them together to be able to leverage each of their strengths to be able to scale up this clean technology at a pace that's actually relevant to doing something about climate change.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fascinated to hear that. I mean, again, you've been able to scale this to 200 plants and I can also resonate with that. It's very difficult for you to do something like that by yourself. I mean, you need a lot of partners. It's a very complex industry, very difficult to move an old big ship like this. So I'm very happy to hear that. And I wanted to just focus on one line that I found in your website, which you say on your website, enabling the concrete industry to improve operations while reducing its carbon footprint. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what does it exactly mean?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. So most of the world thinks of CO2 as a harmful greenhouse gas. And we certainly agree that it's a greenhouse gas that needs to be reduced to limit the effects of climate change. But we also look at CO2 as being a performance enhancing chemical, and one that is particularly effective with concrete or products made with cement. And that's really the core of what I'm talking about. And specifically what this means that if you use carbon dioxide to make concrete is you actually make it stronger.
Wow.
And if you make stronger concrete in the order of about 10 to 20% of both early and late stage strength, is that then offers the concrete producer efficiencies to be able to operate its plant using different blends of cement, which provide even greater CO2 reductions, or less cement, or provide a better product to the market. So that's really what we're getting at, and it can mean different things to different producers in different parts of the country.
Wow. So just for in layman's terms, basically, you're taking CO2 from the air, putting in the concrete, making it cheaper, faster, better. So kind of like if I was a concrete producer, I'm like, well, what am I waiting for? Where do I sign?
Well, it even gets better. We actually don't charge any upfront investment for the technology.
Wow.
We actually come in, our engineers fly in, install it, maintain it, and we benefit when the concrete producer benefits in these efficiencies.
Wow.
So really, we're trying to find that alignment. And getting back to those value networks, that was one of the first lessons that I learned from my mentor, David Green, is to really scale things up is you have to work extra hard to find that alignment, those win-win situations, and in our case, across many different industries that don't normally work together.
Yeah.
To be able to really scale things up. But when you hit it and you find that alignment, things really flow.
Got it. So how, because that's, I mean, I really want to expand on that a little bit, because of course I find it makes so much sense. Like all these small parties, let's come together, create a value network. But of course, the bigger, older companies, they're still working in the kind of a value chain mindset, and it's incredibly difficult to change the way that they're operating, even though you can give them all kinds of Excel sheets like, hey guys, here's the benefits, it makes sense, it's so much better. Yeah, but we still want to do business like we've been doing for the last 100 years. So how have you been able to change the mindset of these companies in an effective way?
I certainly don't blame the different industries that we work with. Just because of the conditions that those industries have evolved into, is they're very low margin. They don't have room to experiment and fail like other industries in the tech space, where they're actually promoted to fail and learn and improve. So they don't have those luxuries. Also, there's a different culture in some of these groups where you're penalized for failure, and it's better to just not try in the first place. So some organizations can be like that. Yeah. So the way that we've got through this is that we've really found those leaders that are looking to take chances. We really focus on their successes, and then we promote the hell out of them, just so that everybody looks over the fence and says, wow, Joe or Jane is really killing it over there. They're lowering their costs. They're getting a better product. And most importantly, they're taking market share from me. Because they have a greener product that's certainly in demand right now in the marketplace.
Yeah. It's so refreshing to hear, because it's so simple. It's kind of like, hey, we're helping you to improve your business. And that's kind of the fundament of it. And that's it.
Yeah. It's not too different though, Jan, from things like more well-known industries like energy efficiency. And where it's actually providing savings. And there's actually quite an industry around this already with these ESCOs, which provide the value for industry and sharing in the upside.
Got it. Okay. I wanted to ask you this. I saw this article in The Observer last year that the cement industry is responsible for 8% of the world's CO2 emissions. Can you tell me a little bit more about this?
Sure. Well, the first thing you have to realize is the concrete industry, which is the primary user of cement, is so enormous, right? So it's not entirely fair to compare, that 8% mark, which is a lot of CO2, with other type of building materials, because if anything else or any other product was made to that quantity, it would also have high CO2 emissions.
Got it.
So I think looking at absolute numbers is still more pertinent. That doesn't get past the point. It's a lot of CO2, and we need to do something about it. We can't just look at another industry, relatively speaking.
Yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. So yes, this industry does have a lot of emissions, but it's a big industry. So there are fortunately some solutions that are available. The problem is they're just not being deployed fast enough. And there's a lot of reasons on why that's the case. And certainly that's something I think about every waking minute is how to scale these things up faster. But fortunately, there are some solutions that are on the shelf today that just are not being deployed to their full potential.
Got it. I'm happy you say that. So you're not just completely bashing it, but it is a big industry, and it's not like we're going to stop, building, so we have to build a lot and a lot and a lot. So yeah, it's inevitable, but it's always kind of like, there's so many political demands and lobbyists involved and all that. The timber people might say, use timber, but then the guys who got their houses burned down, they're like, no, we don't want wood anymore. We want concrete. Yeah. So it's a very challenging topic globally.
Well, just something else to think about as well is that concrete's a resilient product, and we know climate change is going to happen. So do you want to build with a thing that burns down or washes away or blows over? We know we're going to get more storms and fires. So we do need to build resiliently. So my challenge is, how do you keep all of those benefits of using concrete? Like, it's local, it's strong, it's cheap, yet get
abundant everywhere, cheap, all that. Yeah.
So let's fix the carbon problem, and then let's just get going. And there's ways to fix the carbon problem, but we just need to get on with it.
Yeah. Got it. Another thing which I've seen in the news, which got me excited, because I have friends in the Bill Gates Foundation, and so he's a very a public supporter of you guys. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that? Kind of how did that come about, and how does that help you guys with your mission?
Yeah, it's incredible to work with him through Breakthrough Energy Ventures, which invested in Carboncure. That's how the connection was made, as well as many of his other peers that are listed on the website. There's about 24. Let's just say, it is always wonderful to work with people who share our mission and our view of the world and ambition to get things done. And there is no greater example of someone who's really fully committed to getting climate change resolved, getting on top of this, and accelerating technology innovations to be able to handle this challenge.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of another topic that I just saw, relating to Bill. I mean, my friends designed a massive yacht, and he was just in the news last week that he bought it, and it was a zero emission yacht that was built. And it's going to be.
I think it was hydrogen, isn't that right?
Yeah, hydrogen. Yeah, by Fedship in the Netherlands. So it was funny to see that the other day.
Yeah.
No, of course, my background is in the 3D printing industry, and I'm always kind of bringing this bridge to all these different kinds of areas which are being developed alongside. So what would come to your mind with and a kind of a value network setting? If we were to be able to combine 3D printing and your technology together, how would that kind of system in your mind look like, and who would be the beneficiaries of that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just for the sake of making sure everyone's on the same level, is concrete 3D printing is a technology that exists today that's also still early in its scaling process. And what it can be used for is to build housing cheaply, quickly. I believe some of the first work that was done is in China, where they built around 24 homes, or printed 24 homes in a day. Those are very rudimentary. So if you take that another level, it's like, how can Carboncure improve that concrete 3D printing system? Is it gets back to that question about performance enhancement. Is we've only talked about one way that CO2 can improve the performance of concrete, but there's several others that we've already been developing. So we take all of those performance benefits, which allow you to print at a lower cost, faster, and with a lower carbon footprint. I also think about how 3D printing can work to improve the design of some structures, where we're not limited by these simple box-like and
jail structures.
And if we can actually create things with less material, and less material means cheaper, much less environmental footprint, that could even have higher performance as well. So that's one thing. And then the last thing I think about is there's so much work that's being done around the transparency and the impacts of materials, like the embodied carbon network. So if we can start to understand how the materials impact the environment before we actually build them, then that's something that can be incorporated in that type of digital twinning before we actually.
So you can kind of create a simulation before you even start building.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to make it. Oh, sorry. There's a great tool that just came out called EC3 that would fit in perfectly with this.
Wow. Okay. I don't know that. I'm going to check it out. But just to also make it clear for all the listeners here, that basically your technology is not just limited into a specific type of concrete production, but it can be serve itself for 3D printing, for making CMU blocks, concrete casting, all these different kinds of ways that concrete is being produced. Am I correct?
That's right, and that's a very, very unique feature of Carboncure. Fortunately, there's actually a lot of other technologies in this space, but they tend to only be focused on one area, like CMU. We focus across the whole board, and most importantly, the largest volume, which is ready mix, and that would account for about 80% of all concrete.
Got it. And I think my next question is a little bit irrelevant, but I want to ask it anyway. Because you seem very open-minded. You're willing to break the rules and create nimble value networks and all these kind of things. But how do you keep yourself up to date? Because I'm struggling with this thing myself all the time. Like I'm always kind of bashing my head against the wall. Like, oh, don't do that. When somebody comes to me with a new idea, many times the brain goes like, well, it's not going to work because, oh, okay, got it. Let's unlearn and then listen and then try to get that toddler hat on ourselves again. So how do you stay nimble? How do you stay relevant? How do you test new ideas and break ground and all that? So how do you progress on that front on your corporate level?
Yeah, well, it's something that we've built into our values right from day one, and it's something where I think we've still the luxury of being a small enough team that we haven't shifted from that. I would say one of the cultural things that is one of our strengths, but also one of our challenges is being a Canadian company. And we don't have the Silicon Valley mentality, but I think that's actually allowed us to excel in this industry. But it also does need to be something that's recognized, is that we do have to push ourselves a little further than say what our Canadian sensibilities would have us do, which is play it a little more safe. So that's why we do hire a lot in the States. Most of our partners are down there as well, and really trying to embrace that culture of being as ambitious and world-beating as we can, but still trying to be as sensible as our Canadian mentality would have us, which I imagine is similar to something that you go through with Finnish as well. Is they're probably pragmatic, and you obviously a very creative person, and you live in California, so you must have that duality like we do.
Yeah, and it's a luxury of being, having had the opportunity of living in different countries, and you get this kind of you have a very world open view on cultures and stuff like that. So like every place has their ups and downs and pros and cons, like California and Finland for that matter. So okay, got it. As a closing question, I wanted to ask you anything I failed to ask, or anything that you thought that I should have asked, or something that you really think is very important for the listeners to understand what you guys are doing.
I think it's a couple things, and one of them is when we talk about value networks, where we started this thing off. I see an opportunity for the perfect circular economy model in concrete, and I think we can do that by creating new value networks where we're actually taking CO2 from the same industry that's producing the cement. Where today we go out and pull CO2 through our partners off of emissions of other industries like fertilizer or ammonia. But I can see, and what we're trying to build is something where we're taking all of the waste products from our entire value chain. So cement and concrete, which is solid waste, water, and CO2, and then using that as value added so that we have zero emissions from concrete. So we're not talking just about CO2, we're talking about making concrete with no wastewater, no solid waste, and we're making better products at a lower cost. So that's the ultimate vision here, is where we can achieve that type of circularity. And the concrete itself continues to be recycled over and over and over, so that we don't need all this virgin material.
Love it.
I want to say is this is technology that's available today. This is not a science experiment, but we need markets to step in. We're not asking for price premiums, but technologies like ours is we need those people, end users, to actually get out and specify better products that have a lower carbon footprint for this to actually scale up as fast as it needs to. So that's something I always like leaving with people is there is something that they can participate in, and it could be when they pour the foundation for their house or driveway, or it could be building a high rise. Is that this is technology that's already being used in all those projects. Hundreds of examples.
Anybody can participate.
Anybody needs to participate.
Exactly.
Can't sit on the sidelines anymore.
I love it. My head is spinning. I would love to bring you guys into our value networks and create magic together this year. So
like that.
I thank for your time, and you have a great rest of the day. I hope it doesn't rain, so you're gonna have a dry bike ride back home. Yes. So
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
All right. Ciao, ciao. Ciao.